Costa Rica does not observe Labor Day, but all of September is for celebrating Costa Rica's independence from Spain. Welcome back. This is Charmel and Grecia sharing information about retiring in Costa Rica. Now, behind me, you can hear the sounds of children and their parents who have just completed a soccer game on the soccer field below my balcony. September the 15th is Costa Rica's Independence Day, but really its independence from Spain is celebrated all of September. Already we see a lot more Costa Rican flags around town, and the gates to the community where I live, they posted Costa Rica flags on the gates to remind us that September is when we celebrate Costa Rica's independence from Spain, which happened in 1821. Now, along with Costa Rica, other countries in Latin America are also celebrating independence from Spain during September, and those countries are Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua. At the time of the independence from Spain, there was no bloodshed and no violence in Costa Rica. Now, here's what happened as I understand it. In 1808, Napoleon Bonaparte from France invaded Spain. Now, at that time, all of Latin America was under Spanish rule. Latin America had been colonized by Spain. So, at about the time that Napoleon invaded Spain, Latin America revolted against Spain, and the Mexican War also happened about that time, which is important to Costa Rica's independence. So, in this effort for independence from Spanish rule, there was a lot of warfare and fighting in Mexico and Peru. But when all of that was over, all of Latin America was also declared free from Spanish rule, and that happened on September 15th, 1821. But the Ticos in Costa Rica did not know about it for a month. It was a month later when they found out that Costa Rica had been liberated from Spanish rule. So later in 1948, Costa Rica did have a bloody civil war over a disputed presidential election, and that civil war lasted for 44 days, and 2,000 Costa Ricans died. When that war was over, the Constitution guaranteed free and fair elections. Also, at the same time, Costa Rica abolished its military, and that income for the country is used instead for universal health care and education for Costa Rican citizens. So that constitution remains in place today. And today, Costa Rican government is taking further steps to improve human rights for the people of Costa Rica. Costa Ricans are descendants of Spaniards, so they are lighter skinned than you might probably think you would find in a Latin American country. So I like to think of Costa Rica as having several different nationalities and various colors of skin, all living in harmony for the most part. So the foreigners, those of us who moved here, we're the lightest of all of the skin colors, and next are the Costa Ricans. They're a little bit darker than the Americans and the Canadians and the Europeans, and then a little bit darker than the Costa Ricans are the Nicaraguans. A lot of Nicaraguans live in Costa Rica, and they provide a lot of the labor force for Costa Rica. And then even darker than the Nicaraguans are the Jamaicans, who are mostly on the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. And they are descendants of Jamaicans who were brought over by force as slaves. They were enslaved and brought over to Costa Rica. And those Jamaicans still, live on the Caribbean side of Costa Rica for the most part. Of course, they are no longer slaves, but a lot of them run the wildlife tourism industries. And now I have seen some Jamaicans in the Central Valley, and they kind of have that Rastafarian vibe going on, which is fun. But again, I just like to think of Costa Ricans as having all different shades of people living together in harmony. Now, something else to point out is that August 31st is known as Afro Costa Rican Culture Day, which is also known as Day of the Black Person, and it is celebrated nationwide. And Jose, one of the gentlemen that I asked to drive me places a lot, he told me that earlier last week he went to the airport and picked up some Americans who flew to Costa Rica to celebrate um, the Day of the Black Person, probably on the Caribbean side of the country, with the people who are descendants of Jamaicans. In 2021, the United Nations adopted the International Day of Afro Descendants. So it was adopted by the United Nations in 2021, but it was initiated by Costa Rica. So it was sponsored by Costa Ricans and was also supported by 52 other countries. If you have additional information, please put it in the comments section. Pura Vida, ciao.